Welcome to another episode of Three Men in a War Game. I'm your host, Paul.
I'm also your host, Kevin, or Chop, or, whatever you want to call me.
And I am your ghost host, Potter.
With Chris. The most?
With the most?
Yeah.
It's close enough to October, right?
Yeah, but you got to finish it out.
It's spooky season, right?
Yes. I think it works.
It works, all right.
Anyway, we are 3 Men in a War Game. We're here to talk about war games for the first time in a long time. I feel like we've been on some Gundam, on some Flesh and Blood. Also, recently I started playing Magic again. What fucking year is it? Anyway, but we're going to talk about a war game tonight.
Yeah. Before we do that, though, what's hobbying? Chops, what are you hobbying?
I've been playing Magic. I just said it.
Oh yeah. That's right.
So, right now I'm actually hobbying on some War Machine, and I've been working on. So, you know how I was talking about the method of painting contrast plus.
Yes,
correct.
Remember that? Well, somebody has formalized that method, and they're calling it slap chop, which is it's fine. It's fine. I'm not a famous enough YouTuber to have gotten out there and made my name, but it's definitely the style that I started to avow. And I will say the slap chop method though does have a few key differences from my contrast plus. And the first part of it is that you start by black priming, and then you do a medium to light gray with a white dry brush. And then that's when you do the medium gray as a zenithal and then a white dry brush. And then that's your base that you start contrasting. So there is a key and notable difference. That's why I'm not going after them for copyright infringement on my contrast plus method. But I have been slap chopping some Kings of War models and really enjoying that method. And I'm just thinking about Vince from the slap chop every time I say it.
Oh, God. Oh, that infomercial.
Yeah, man. It's an infamy. But also, I recently... So, I've been playing a lot of Flesh and Blood. Also, people who follow me on Facebook know that I bought a box of Strixhaven to play a one-box meta with my daughter. And we've been having a lot of fun with that, and it kind of reignited my love for Magic, and I let my local shop owner, who I play Flesh and Blood with, talk me into buying a Commander precon. And he was like, look, you're going to like Commander. You're going to like it. And I was like, dude, it's so intimidating. There's millions of Magic cards. But anyways, I bought this precon, and I love Commander, you guys. It's like the funnest thing. It completely reinvigorated my love of Magic. I think I have no desire to play competitive one-on-one Magic, but I love Commander. And I'm very excited to really foil out and bling this one deck that I have, because that's the nice thing about Commander is you get to really customize your deck. So that's sort of, and I think that counts as hobby. I think thinking about my Commander deck and researching cards for it and stuff like that has been a big part of my hobby the last couple weeks. That's what I've been up to.
How about you, Chris? What you into?
Let's see. I've built some MCP models. I basically bought and finished fleshing out my X-Men. So I got Rogue, Gambit, Colossus, Magic built. I still have to get X-23 and Honey Badger built, but they are bought. Started working on painting some Signar, because those bad boys came in. So I've been working on those now that I got my new airbrush, which is fantastic. I am very happy with the Awada that I purchased. It's very nice.
We should get you slap chopping your Marvel models. Get them through.
So I actually started looking at the Army Painter quote unquote contrast paints.
The speed paints.
Yeah, the speed paints, and I was doing a lot of research on it. And it's from what I saw compared between the contrast paints and the speed paints was more that the speed paints were a lot better on flat surfaces compared to the contrast paints. So I think I've picked up 3 colors. And I fully plan on slap chopping my Sentinels completely when those come out next month. I'm just going to hit those bad boys up with some metallic base paint and then just slap chop the shit out of them. So
what you should do with the Sentinels is the same way. Have you've seen my King's Hand for the other side?
Yes, I have.
And for people who are listening and are like, "What are you talking about?" Ping me on Discord, and I'll show you a picture of it. But what I did with that was I primed it black, and then I overbrushed lead belcher. So overbrush, for people who aren't familiar, I'm sure Chris knows, but for people who aren't familiar, overbrushing is like dry brushing, but your brush is wetter. It's like half dry brushing. So you get a makeup brush and you put the paint that you want to overbrush on it and you wipe it off on a paper towel, but you don't wipe as much. It's a very feely kind of thing. You don't wipe quite as much off as you would for dry brushing. So anyway, I overbrushed that model with lead belcher, and then I went over it with Agarose dunes, and that's actually how I painted that model. I just like slathered it in Agarose dunes after I overbrushed it with lead belcher.
Mm-hmm.
And my plan for the Sentinels is very similar. I'm going to base them black, and I'm going to overbrush the shit out of them with some kind of silver, and then I'm going to dry brush them with a brighter silver, and then I'm going to hit them with blue and purple contrast paints, and they're going to be fucking done.
Yeah, I mean,
they look good.
Yeah, because that's what I picked up was I think that was the third color I picked up was like my magenta for my Sentinels, because I've got blue. So like I picked up Pallid Bone for their face. I picked up Purple Alchemy for the magenta kind of colorish.
Yeah, that's gonna look good.
And then I picked up Hive Dweller Purple for the more purple parts. And then I've got the blue and the yellow for the more X-Men colors. So try that out.
Tight.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try doing that. So yeah, heavy into the MCP, but I also made some progress on my Baratheons as well too. They're not where I want them to be, but then I got into the more of like getting their carrying case set up. So I've been hobbying in terms of getting sheet metal laid into plastic carrying containers to carry that army out. And then other than that, just been playing MCP and a lot of Fallout 76 actually lately.
Hell yeah.
So that's me.
Now is the most important question, because this question is going to segue us right into our main topic. Paul, what have you been doing recently?
Well, I have to say I probably had the most productive 5 days of hobby ever, in which I completed painting the Web Warriors for MCP, as well as Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Punisher.
Paul painting MCP?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Who would have thought that would have happened, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it was a total of 8 models in 5 days.
Yeah, you were definitely on that like kind of kick that I was on last year when I was painting all those MCP models.
I'll say MCP models are surprisingly fun to paint. Like I've never started painting one and been like, fuck this model. When I was halfway through it, like, I love painting those models, legit. Like, I've used them the entire time I've been playing MCP as like palette cleansers to the painting I don't want to do. Because they both paint easy and paint well. It's just the strangest thing. I love them. I thought about that, and I think it has something to do with them being 40mm scale. I think so. Ash Barker said a thing about this on Guerrilla Miniatures games back in the day, like back when he first started playing it. He said they're fun to paint because it's basically like painting kids in their pajamas. Like it's like solid, bold colors, and like I think there's some merit to that. It's fun to paint like bright, even when you're painting the black ones. It's still fun to just have these like big surfaces, and that goes to what you were saying, Paul. The 40mm does make them fun to paint, but also like just painting with the big, bright, bold colors, and also having like really well delineated places that you're painting color, and being able to reference really cool comic book art and stuff while you're painting. Like all of those things, I think add up to an experience that's really joyous in a way that a lot of miniature painting isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hop onto the like finding the reference art. Like I found for when I was painting Valkyrie, I actually found the actual comic run that they picked her design out of. So it was really cool to go like Google that specific run, go on Marvel Unlimited, find the run, and look at all the reference materials to see like where the Atomic Mass guys came from in terms of like how they were crafting that model, where the color was supposed to go. So that was really cool. It felt like the first time I'm like, hey, I'm actually doing research for my hobby. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing too is so many times when you're doing other types of games, and you're like, I don't want to do the studio scheme, but this game is like, I want to replicate the model as it is in the comic. And it's just, it feels like a neat challenge because you're only doing it once.
Yeah, and for someone that like me, that when I was a kid, I used to actually copy draw. So like I would lay out the comic on my like right or left hand side of me, and then I have a sheet of paper, and I would just like try my best to copy the image from the comic as a kid over into like me drawing it. And so like to me, this is like an extension of what I did as a child, now getting to do it as an adult, but I've already got the models, so now I just get to put the colors where they need to belong.
Which is sweet.
Yeah, so I guess we should also start talking about why I painted 8 models in 5 days.
Paul, why did you paint 8 models in 5 days for Marvel Crisis Protocol?
Because I've been playing a whole lot of Marvel Crisis Protocol.
You can't see it, but I have my shocked Pikachu face.
Yeah, probably for the past month, it's the only thing that I've played. And
I know you and I have gotten 3 games in. 3
so,
games?
Paul, you've recently updated your face to be full historical wargamer, and you're playing MCP. Get out of here. I'm
doing both. Look, I've always said that MCP, it's a much different side of the game to simulation slider. So it's been kind of nice now that I've been a lot more in depth with simulation side to have something on the game side.
Well, let's dig into that, because like it's no secret that Potter and I like Marvel Crisis Protocol. We've dedicated an episode to it. I have sung its praises. It is realistically the only miniature game that I still play regularly, if we can even call it regular right now. So, I mean, I've been, playing a game of this here and a game of that there, but the only game that I've played more than twice this year, miniatures wise, is Crisis Protocol. So, love that game. We know Potter likes it, but Paul, we got to talk about why you're coming around on it. Hopefully you've got, 2 or 3 things that we can hit on as topics and talk about them one at a time. But however you want to tackle this discussion, we should definitely dig into why now, after initially sort of shitting on it, you're turning around on the game.
So I'm gonna start by thinking about the things that I did not like initially.
Yeah.
And let's address those. One of my first things was that initially out of the box in the starter set, the models in there felt very samey, right? Like I felt like you were either rolling 5 dice or 6 dice, and maybe there was a push.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I see where you're going. Yep.
Yeah.
You're talking samey in terms of rules.
Yes.
Yeah, I both follow and sort of agree. I feel like even in the box, specifically Red Skull and Crossbones feel very unique. But maybe outside of those models, I'm with you a little bit.
Yeah, I thought the one that stood out the most initially was Spider-Man because
Yeah,
he
Peter
did
too.
have a lot
Pete
more of
does.
those pushes.
He's got the pushes and pulls, but Crossbones with his abilities to sort of like follow up after he's hit, and Red Skull's kind of like risk it for the biscuit kind of play style.
Mhm.
Both were a little different. That like those three models stand out, but I see what you're saying with the other 7 in that box having like just sort of like very vanilla levers
Yep.
being pulled on them.
Yep. And that was
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I did not like when that initially came out. And then the stuff that came out immediately after was Wakanda, and it was a major power jump. Like Wakanda came out
somewhat.
and just kind of dominated everything. So
Well, let's be fair. Shuri dominated everything.
Yeah, but I mean, the meta shifted a lot, right?
Oh,
like,
right.
Then the criminal syndicate dominated a lot, and like to some extent, still is one of the better affiliations.
Well, so let me explain part
Yeah.
of that for me as to why that really turned me off.
Definitely, yeah, we should dig into that.
Because realistically, that had happened a lot in War Machine. There was definitely a lot of power creep. And this is all the same guys from War Machine. So for me, in my brain, it was, all right, well, here we go again.
Not this again. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
See, we never talked about that before, but that does make sense. It also is weird that we never talked about that before, but I can definitely see that and also agree to a certain extent. I don't know that I would have agreed in the moment. I'd actually almost certainly wouldn't have agreed in the moment. I would have fought you on it. But with hindsight, I think I do agree that there was some initial power creep. And that's actually been proven out by ban lists and also by errata characters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and
So,
and that's part of it too, right? Like part of the turnaround on that is that they've made adjustments to the characters who it was, like especially out of the starter box, most of them have all seen an adjustment except for maybe Peter Parker.
yeah, there's a few that haven't.
So they were brought in line, right? They came out and in theory they came out and did what they were supposed to do, which was be simple to learn. And now they've been adjusted for more of the game and where it is now. But the other thing too is that as we've gotten more affiliations and just more characters, there's definitely a lot more variety to what's going on.
Oh yeah, there's a lot out there to pull from now.
And this is what I was talking about, Paul. I wanted you to say something that would like lead us down another path, and this is a really really good point. With the additional affiliations, and there's some other things I want to talk about with additional affiliations, one of the things that they've been doing recently, and if you've been playing MCP for a while, you may not have noticed this because it's kind of like like the frog being gradually boiled thing, but the packs have been coming with less and less unaffiliated tactics cards.
Mm-hmm.
And they've sort of done that slowly. Like initially, a lot of the expansions had like half or more of the tactics cards that came with them be unaffiliated. And, some of that is that like Asmodee wants you to put some stuff in there to sell these boxes to people that don't want the models. But they've gotten away from that, thankfully, and now most of the cards in the pack, to all of them, are in affiliation tactics cards or call the characters in the box out by name specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge boon to the game because, as Paul said, that more variety, and that even further separates them, and it also gives you more meaningful character choice at the roster selection phase, and also more flavorful things to pick from. Like I play X-Force almost exclusively now, and in playing X-Force, I love the tactics cards that I have access to, and I run very few vanilla tactics anymore, just the ones that everyone does, like Brace for Impact, right? But for the most part, I'm running the X-Force ones, and then I'm tailoring what I take into a specific match based on the mission and what my opponent is playing.
Yeah, I think I was doing this, started to do the same thing, because I will say, I think I think Paul and I had a common complaint at the same level with the Tactics cards. I felt like there were just too many unaffiliated team tactics cards, and it made my choices like it was overwhelming. It felt like building an infinity list again. I was just had too many choices.
But also there were too many good ones. Like you're encouraged to bring 8, or at least before in the old rules, right? In the old rules it was 8.
Right.
And when you grab the 8, every single person that played MCP had 4 of the same ones because they were just so good that you had to bring those 4. And with the bandit, sort of with the restricted list that they have now, and the format list, and the fact that the in-affiliation tactics cards are so much better and more plentiful, now the affiliations really become more meaningful. And definitely more fun and thematic.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I played Black Order the other night into Paul's Web Warriors, I think the only unaffiliated card I had was Brace for Impact. I think every other card I had was... well, it's like I'm going against Web Warriors. Of course I'm taking Brace for Impact. You have to take
Brace. Yeah, for sure.
No, I think I had one other one in there that was like, it was if I got thrown... I wouldn't get treated as I wouldn't take collateral damage, whichever one that was. I can't remember the name of that card, but I took that unaffiliated card as well. And the other 8 cards that I took were all Black Order cards.
Yeah, and that's how it should.
Which felt good, right? Yeah, that it felt good to be able to like go in and like I want all these cards because they're really good.
Yeah, see, and that's where I am too with my pack of 10 cards. It's either Web Warrior cards or named character cards or Brace for Impact and Patch Up.
Yeah, Brace and Patch, those are pretty obvious takes for most lists. But like outside of that, you really get to vary, put your personal thing. Like for me, I don't leave the house without Fastball Special. Like I just I love it, and it doesn't always get played because I don't always play Colossus and Wolverine. But look. If I'm playing them both and I want to get Wolverine up into the shit, oh boy, there's nothing better than that tactics card. It's so good.
But I tell you, I did the same thing when I built an X-Men list. I had Colossus and Wolverine, and I was like fastball specials in it. I didn't play them together, but it's going to be in my 10 cards.
Right, and that's the nice thing about the 10 cards is that you can put that in there, and you're not stuck with it, right? Like if you're like, I'm not bringing Wolverine and Colossus, I don't need this card. It's not taking up a spot.
But if your opponent brings someone who's squishy and Wolverine can just splatter him, woohoo! It's time to go.
Right, exactly. And
Wolverine is slow.
Yeah,
he is.
It's it's one of the. I think that variety there, I think, has really changed the game and made it more interesting and definitely more thematic. Again. Them coming out and only having Avengers and Cabal, again, to take it back to War Machine, it felt very similar to when Mark III launched and nobody had theme lists, and then they gave Signar a theme list, and Signar was the best. So it just they still are the best. It just didn't have that variety, and so that was a major turn off to me initially. I think, well, this is done with an easy solution. God, I hate setting up the game. It's a whole lot different to be like, I need to get this 5 and this 4 than even just compared to Legion, where like I stick 3 things together and that's it. So thankfully, Mats by Mars has a overlay that has all of the spots laid out, and it takes about 3 seconds to get everything out on the table, and that makes life so much better.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna even start to fight you on that one.
Yeah, I mean you can't, right? Like like I mean, even you just go to game night and watch, and the people with the mats that have everything laid out, it's quick, and instead of being like, oh, I need a 5 and a 3 here and then a 4 and a 2 here, and is it right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're up and going quick.
Yeah, exactly. It's very good. One of the other major, I guess I have two more major points of what brought me around on it. One of them is that with more characters, there's more characters that I was interested in playing. Like I just have that very specific feel of people that I want to play. I really have always liked the more street level characters. I want somebody who's like barely got superpowers as opposed to like gods and aliens and stuff like that. I want the guy who's all right. He just has access to good weapons, or, his senses are heightened because he's blind. Like, I like that type of stuff. Right. And now that those guys are out there, it just feels more like what I want out of a superhero game.
Sure.
So just that feel, and it's different. It's very different playing characters that you've read in books as opposed to playing ones that you didn't really have the interest in reading.
Sure.
So
yeah,
I get that personal connection.
That. Yeah, because me being a kid overseas, when I lived, I was a military brat living overseas. The only access I had to was like X-Men, Superman, Archie, and like some mom and pop no name comics. So like I grew up watching like X-Men, and that's what I knew. But then the MCU comes out and reinvigorated my interest in comics again, and so like I think I like seeing a lot of the MCU kind of characters coming into the game and being played, because like that's what got me back into comics. So I feel you on that, is like wanting to play those characters that you care about. Like Wolverine, like the moment Wolverine came out, and everybody knows when we talked about this before, when we did our MCP Revisited episode, and we talked about X-Men coming out, like that I immediately went that day, pre-ordered everything. I got everything the day it released. Everything got painted. Everything got built. Like, that is my only fully painted affiliation, because that's just what I love. And playing those kind of things that you love more is going to definitely keep you in the game a lot longer.
Definitely.
Now, excuse me while I go find Supergiant's arm that's on the floor.
Oh, no.
Well, if it's giant, it should be easy to find.
She's not giant. She's tiny.
One of the other things I think that has really changed the game for a positive, that's just a tiny tweak, is now how you pick the scenarios. And with it being entirely random from your 3, it gives a greater variety to what you see on the table.
Strong agree.
And I also think that the fact that there's more out there has definitely makes it feel like less like, all right, just rush to the objective and stand there and pick up the other one. Initially, that's really what it felt like to me, which was a big turn off. But it feels like there's a lot more variety, and one of the things that they've done. And maybe this wasn't necessarily super clear from the ones in the original box, is that, there's effects attached to them, right? And now that there's more scenarios, there's more effects. So you have to start taking that into consideration when building your list, right? Because those rosters...
There was some of that. There was some of that in the vanilla stuff, but it's definitely more pronounced now.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it gives you that opportunity to go through those crisis cards and figure out what works with the roster that you're bringing. Like for me, playing Web Warriors, having The cube one is a terrible idea because you're taking damage every turn for holding on to them. And web warriors don't have a whole lot of health.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on top of that, and then getting hit, it's a bad day. The advantage to it is that everything's pretty well spread out, which is also, I feel like, what they want. So just looking into those crisis cards and looking for ones between placement on the table, between what special ability or what effect it may have on you, I think really brings a different dynamic to the game, because you have to figure out how. So you've got multi-layers that are working, and now that there's more out there, I feel like they're working together. So you're building your roster, you're trying to figure out the 10 guys that you're picking, what role they're going to be playing in the game. Now you're also picking out your tactics cards, which, as we said, have a lot more flavor and a lot more variety, and uses specifically to the characters that you're bringing now. And now you're trying to also figure out what crisis cards work best for what you have.
Mm-hmm.
So there it really starts bringing in, the thing that I always talk about, which is the off-table value, because you can sit there and you can read those cards and you can think about, how that will affect your team and how they can best handle them and which ones are going to be best for your guys. And then even just thinking about the ones that aren't good for your team and how you might handle it. Like the other night I was playing and I had the gamma ray one, which is only 3 secure objectives, and going against X-Force with my squishy little guys and everybody trying to be in the same spot was quite the challenge. So you got to have an understanding for what ones work for you, as well as what ones, don't work for you, and how you might be able to mitigate that.
Well, I mean, I think all I can say about that your whole point here is that, like, I think you're seeing the potential that I saw in the game initially realized, right? And it's amazing. I'm just so happy that you gave the game another chance. I think too many people now have a bad experience with something, and just because there's so many things available for us to focus on and put our attention on, we'll just be like, meh, didn't like that, not for me. But you were able to come back to the game with sort of clear eyes.
Hey,
see these really good changes.
And you're right. And one of the things, as I was thinking about it, is that, with like I was talking about, with the knowing that it was the War Machine guys and seeing some of those, I don't know, I guess what to me were red flags. It was hard to see. It was honestly hard to see past that. But I also, I'm a firm believer that when you have new information, you should, reconsider your worldview and how that affects. Yep. And, and this is another major part of me giving it a go, is that there's a lot of people playing it. Right.
It's quite large in our area.
Yeah. Like you can always get a game. Right. And for me, I, was looking at it going, there has to be something with this many people playing, right? Watching the community grow, just really,
there's got to be something.
Made it clear to me that there was something to look at and something to at least go back and see what people were doing. So it definitely became a good bit of FOMO. Because, playing other games on the same night as the MCP guys, I realized that the people playing MCP were really nice, were really cool. And it was nice talking to them after playing whatever game I was playing. And
you probably looked over and they were having a ton of fun.
And they were. And the other thing too is that, hanging out and talking with people that are cool is great, but when you're playing the same game as them, it's even better.
Agreed.
Right? Like that really changes up that dynamic that you have. And just to be able to share whatever interesting things happen during the game.
Well, hell yeah.
Because, the other thing, thinking about it is that, at least in our area right now, if you want an easy game, like guaranteed, you're either going to play Crisis Protocol or 40K.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
Sadly, yeah.
I mean, to the point where MCP has an official night every other Wednesday, and the alternating game is Legion, and you go into that store on the MCP off night, you're going to see 3 to 4 MCP games and maybe a Legion game.
Even on the off week?
That's the off week.
Damn.
Well, to be fair, the Legion group has kind of migrated to a different store. So it's not that the Legion as a game is dead here. It's just not being played as much in the store that MCB is being played in.
Gotcha.
And I part of that too, though, is that MCP does have that strong presence.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to me that right now in this area, really, and really when you think about it, coming out of COVID, at least here, really only 3 games survived, I think. Maybe 4. 40K, Marvel Crisis Protocol, Legion, and Infinity, but Infinity kind of built up during and after COVID, right? So everything else has disappeared. Malifaux is dead.
Yeah, we're experiencing a similar thing here in Madison. Actually, really, it's like a lot of minutes. If you're not playing Games Workshop games, you're really scheduling games. There is a regular MCP night, though. It's just at a different store than I play at. But I think it's very similar here. Like the Games Workshop games are surviving and thriving, and everything else, it feels like if you want to play, you really got to schedule. Although Valhalla has been doing a really good job of getting people out for Conquest, for A Song of Ice and Fire, for Bushido, and keeping that flame lit for all those other games. But that's just one hobby store in an area that has 6, right?
Right.
Woo. Yeah. I mean, and that's just it's just interesting to me that I guess it's that power of your IP. Right, because if you look at that, it's pretty much the games that have an established IP are the ones that came out of COVID still going strong.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks for me about that is I like war games that have original IPs.
Right.
That's why I'm so big on the War Machine resurgence, because I love. But look at me playing Flesh and Blood, right? There's something both about the sort of punk rock, do it yourself, small scrappy company thing, but there's a whole other thing of playing a game that exists in a universe where you can use your imagination to fill it out a little bit, and you can't necessarily do that with established IPs, but with established IPs, you also get to play with the characters you love. So there's a little bit of both, right? And I like them for different reasons. The point that I want to make is that I wish that it wasn't everybody playing the established IP games, because while they're good and the IPs are fun to live in, there's so many good worlds that other people are creating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you, and that is something that I've genuinely thought about. Is look at all Malifaux, great world, right? So it's
so good.
Yeah, and it's I don't know what the situation with Malifaux is, countrywide, but we had probably one of the strongest Malifaux communities
In the
you could
country.
find. Yeah, and it's
I would say you had the scene.
yeah,
man.
and it's gone. It is gone.
Sad.
Yeah, it is. It's very sad because that is a really good game. But right now you just can't stop that power of MCP.
And Games Workshop.
Yeah, and Games Workshop. I mean, let's be honest. That goes without saying.
What a behemoth of a company.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do?
Yep. Well, you get a established IP and you make a good game.
Yeah.
Which look and looking at it, clearly Atomic Mass had their early ways figured out when they released and knew the direction they were heading.
Yep.
Which is good.
It makes me excited for them to see as they move forward, and we start seeing more and more of the Legion stuff coming from it as well too, with the established IP there. How they're going to change that and fix what I feel is some of the board gaminess of the game and move it more towards a very full, fleshed out miniatures game.
Yeah, I think that'll be extremely interesting to see as or if that happens.
Well, I mean, I think they're going to take a lot of lessons learned that they've gotten from MCP, because there's a lot of crossover in terms of like some of the scenario design with MCP and Legion both putting out more of extra scenarios, more scenarios, but in these XYZ boxes. So they had a similar business model going forward with that. So I think with things like that and how they're changing more to like what Kevin said earlier, where we're getting less and less of like the generic stuff with characters, and we're getting more and more specific stuff. Like how are we going to play that into Legion as they move forward with that as well too.
And you just reminded me, Chris, of something that I wanted to bring up as something that I still absolutely despise about MCP, and that is scenario cards being locked in character boxes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
I think it is a terrible choice. And
thanks Asmodee.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Like even just doing what Legion did, like give me a box with a couple scenarios in it and give me a couple models, like give me models for spider people, give me something like that, right? Like that everybody can use and have the opportunity to use instead of locking them behind a character. And now we're in a situation where two of them that are locked behind a character are banned.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. FFG had the right way of going about it and putting like in terrain packs.
Yep.
So they weren't locked to a faction. They weren't locked to a character. It's, hey, here's some cool terrain. Also, by the way, it's coming with mission cards. Have a fun day.
Let's establish the fact. Let's just be clear that the stuff that comes with terrain is narrative. All of the stuff that is used for competitive comes in its own box with models to use with those scenarios, and that's really like little models of the cube fragments, or again, like I said, the spider people, or something to represent a gamma shelter, even if it's just kind of like a 3D radioactive sign, whatever. Like, give me something like that adds to the game and doesn't force me to buy characters that I don't want, which I'm just genuinely not going to buy them anyway. If I really want a scenario, our community is casual enough that I'll just print it up.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I remember you having this great point, like specifically like when Hulk had the Gamma mission specifically locked behind him, and I believe MODOK did too. I think MODOK had a mission locked behind him as well. And those were the first releases that came out, that weren't in the core box on, release day. So, I do remember you having that, and I agree with it. I mean, because I don't like that. It's a feel bad to me as well. I also don't like, when it comes to their missions, I don't like how they're not identifiable. Like, when I go in and look, I'm like, okay, what's this condition? I can go in the rule book and boom, there it is. A friend of ours was very awesome and printed up cheat sheets for us. Thank you, Jim. And provided it to us, which was awesome for that. But it's like, okay, we had it. What was it? You and I were playing the other day, and we had some mission. I was like, what fucking icon is this? I don't know what to put down on the table for this mission as a token. I don't know what size it's supposed to be. I don't know what it's like, any of it, because like it's not identified. It's just a freaking picture, and I'm like, what is it?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I solved that problem and have red and blue tokens coming to me.
Yeah, I wanted to look and see what I could do to solve that, because I just bought a ton. Yeah, I mean that's a good idea, because I just spent a ton of money on some Muson Mini. Well, not a ton of money. They were actually pretty cheap. Muson Mini tokens for like all my conditions, and they actually have written on the token what the condition is. So like this specifically says dazed. This specifically says fire, stun. So like I know specifically what they are, and they're very nice acrylic as well too. So
yeah, I mean I'm just excited because for my roster I separated out all the tokens that come with it, but now I just have to have 10 tokens in the bag. 5 red, 5 blue, done. Is it going to be as thematic without having the pictures? Sure. Do I care? Not that much.
I'm going down that road and doing the exact same thing. That is brilliant. I'm buying some acrylic tokens as well.
Yep. I think that's going to be a major benefit to making the game just all around easier to play.
The point to get back to though is that like you're into the game enough that you're on to aftermarket accessories.
Well, I'll tell you what,
that's
Kev,
pretty cool.
I bought a mat with the overlays and went out and I got the Trolled Potter and got the mushroom mat that I've been threatening to get for the past like 4 years. But I got tired of I got tired of seeing everybody playing on city maps. So I went and got the mushroom forest from Mats by Mars and went to the pet store and bought a bunch of aquarium plants, and now I have a extremely unique looking place. A lot of people have commented and been like, "Oh, cool, it's like everybody's fighting underwater." And that wasn't, I was thinking like weird trees and stuff like that, but I'm like, yeah, that makes sense too. Like that's perfectly viable in this world.
Yeah, and I would like to thank Mario at Mats by Mars for changing your design of it and being less glossy and more matte, because it's so much easier to look at now. It's less garish.
Yeah, I feel like I got ripped off on the trolling of you part. However, I feel wonderful because instead of just like having it to troll, I genuinely love it.
Yeah, no, it's great, and they do such a. I mean, because I have a city. I mean, I have a city Mats by Mars. One Matt as well too, and for the same reason for the overlays. But I also, went ham on the buildings and everything else that Atomic Mass Games makes. So it just made sense for me to go for the city route. But it's so much fun because it's like the way I looked at it, it wasn't underground. I was like, we're on some alien planet. That's how I looked at it. I mean, it was like, which is again very Marvel, very Avengers, very comic booky, and I loved it. It was so much fun, like picking up a plant and tossing it at what was it, Gwen or whoever I tossed it at the other day to get the win.
Yep. Yeah, and part of it too was I'll be honest, was sheer laziness. Right? Like I look at all these terrain packs and, $50-$60 for them, and then you got to build them and paint them. I went to the store and, got a bunch of aquarium, plants and some stuff I needed for my pets. And I walked out of there spending $100, and like literally the only thing I need to do is put stickers on the bottom to designate what size they are. Done. Done.
Yep, it's a fun table to play on, and I've enjoyed my time playing on it. I think we've done 3 games on it now, and they've been entertaining every single time, especially with the squishy, like what's the one that looks like a sea urchin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I want to go back and get more of those. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, those are cool.
But I think and to be perfectly honest with you, I think there's going to be a lot more of this game in my future. If for no other reason than there is a established community of really good people, and Kevin Babb is running the community here, and he puts on a good event and is very good about balancing competitive play and narrative play.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're in the Raleigh area, Game Theory in Raleigh, Wednesday nights, come play. We would love to hang out with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Even though I'm not there.
One day we'll convince you to move down to the swamp.
I mean, I was feeling it when I was out there over the summer.
Dude, it's
a real nice area.
It's nice out there. It's nice right now, man. It's nice. 70 It was like 76 degrees today. Now we're getting a lot of wind because
they
of the hurricane.
say with a hurricane coming in.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
Let's I mean, I think we've got a pretty rounded out discussion here. So let's go to renewed final thoughts on Marvel Crisis Protocol. Paul, unless you have more that you want to go over with regards to the game.
No, I think that's it. I think it's summarizing it up. I now see where it was going and didn't necessarily see it before, and I think it's going to keep going in good places.
Oh my god, I can't wait for the next set of reveals. Oh man, every time we're getting close to new character reveals, I just get so giddy.
Great Lakes Avengers or die.
Well, I mean, yeah, Squirrel Girl's got to be coming at some point.
Yeah, we've got enough young Avengers in mainstream media now that we have to have that coming to Marvel's got to let them do it. Disney, come on, let us have them.
And I mean, we're getting into we did come out the gate with MODOK, but we got silly characters right now that are coming out, so they can keep the silly train going.
I agree.
Kevin, what about you? Final thoughts?
My final thought is bring me the Fantastic Four. Let's fucking go. Let's go.
Well, I think they're saving that for when the movie comes out to help sell boxes.
Dude, that's in 2024. You gotta have Fantastic Four before then.
God, I hope so. I mean, because you think about the Doctor Doom mini. Oh, how good is it going to be?
Oh, yeah. And imagine
Doctor Doom
the
Ultimate Encounter.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Was the Doctor Doom Ultimate Encounter that goes with it?
Oh, let's go! Yeah, I need it so bad.
I can't wait to see the Sentinel Ultimate Encounter when that comes out.
Oh yeah. It's funny. I actually the only MCP purchase I've made in this is my real final thought. The only MCP purchase I've bought recently was the Cassandra Nova box, and I got it just because I want to be able to have more affiliation models for them Sentinels, because I got those bad boys coming too.
Yep, I pre-ordered them. So my final thought is, if you've been listening to us long enough talk about MCP, we legitimately called pretty much all the releases that come out. In our first episode, we called called Sentinels in our first episode.
I thought you were going to say, look, we even got our curmudgeon to come around on it. You should try the game.
That's what I thought he was going to say, too.
You said, motherfucker, we called it.
We called that shit 2 years ago.
Oh, that's so funny.
But also, we got our curmudgeon to come around. Come play the game. It's fun.
Yeah. Give it a shot. It's a really good game.
Yep, absolutely.
Paul, read us out.
All right, so first of all, thank you to Static as a City for the music. Second of all, thank you for all of the patrons and all of your support. Third of all, come hang out on our Discord. It's fucking amazing. And I think that's it. Oh, and if you're in the Madison area, go to Valhalla Games, and if you're not in the Madison area, go to comicsgamesandthings.com. Noah will take care of you. He's fantastic.
Yep,
That
Noah's awesome.
100%. Heart eyes all day for Noah.
Dude, he has helped me out with getting some stuff that's been out of order. So yeah, go to him. He'll hook you up.
Yeah, and look, to be honest with you, I got a Doctor Strange that clearly was warped in the development process, and he got that fixed up for me real quick, and we know how hard it can be to work with Asmodee.
Oh, you heard it here. But also, bye!